Join us, Alix and Colleen, self-proclaimed fake it till you make it experts, as we navigate the highs and lows of being a woman and how the pressure and overwhelm of trying to do it all often leads to feeling like an imposter in our own lives. Joining us today is Kaylee Giffin, aka Blondie Locks. Kaylee chats with us about her transition into motherhood and how that inspired her to make an amazing and epic pivot from a successful fashion blogger into a soon-to-be yoga studio owner, and the journey that paved the way.
Hi, Alix.
Hello, Colleen.
We're back for another week at the Mellow Mug. I felt like we were being a little bit bold when we asked if we could podcast here, but I felt, but immediately they were just like, yeah, sounds great. We love it.
I know. It's amazing.
Oh, so something really fun happened to me this week.
Ooh, do tell.
It was so sweet. So we've been getting some beautiful comments from you guys. And we share back and forth, this person said whatever, but because we like the validation and the, because we're new at this, we don't know what we're doing.
Yes.
But on Tuesday, I get a text message from my Aunt Betty, my dad's older sister. And she says, Colleen, is there a podcast today? I get this text from her. And I was like, yeah, it's Tuesday. There's a podcast today. And she said, I can't find it. So I sent her the link. And I got, that was so thrilling to me that this woman, 81-year-old woman, knew that it was Tuesday, so must have a podcast out there. And it just felt really good to think that people care. I don't know. It just felt so awesome.
I think it's great. I think because we obviously feel insecure or maybe not 100% confident doing this because we don't know what the hell we're doing. It's always nice to hear positive feedback from people.
Yeah.
And that people are taking the time to listen always makes me feel really nice.
Makes me feel nice too. So keep the comments coming. We love the support.
We need it.
And
our imposter syndrome
is
it.
Flying high. And we haven't said, but share, follow, like. I mean, we say it on our social media, but share, follow, like, subscribe. I don't even know how to do half that stuff.
All the terms.
Do but, the things.
We've been really happy with the amount of traffic and downloads that we're getting. So the nice thing about having very low expectations is that anything is great.
We are rising to the occasion. We did.
That's my life motto. Have no expectations and never be disappointed.
I'm not disappointed. This has been great. Thanks for doing this project with me.
It's so fun.
It is fun. Thanks for being my friend.
Thanks for being my friend.
Oh
my goodness. Okay, we need a break so we can have fries.
Okay, but you know what? I'm going to hate my voice on that. It's going to go squealy.
It's the life. It's the podcast life.
Podcast life.
Hashtag podcast life.
Tonight's guest is internet fame from the Valley of Nova Scotia. The Valley.
Valley. She's a Valley girl. Valley girl.
Kaylee Giffin, known as Blondie Locks online. Kaylee, one of the things that we do is we start the podcast by saying what we see of you online and what we think of you, and then see if it compares to the way you see yourself.
Okay.
How's that? I've met you a few times, so we've ended up at a couple of influencer events together. You radiate happiness.
You're gonna make me cry already. I'm such an emotional person.
Is that
yeah, I'm already. Yeah, probably. I cry over everything.
But you do. You radiate happiness, and I know you've gone through a rough time. Yeah. So from what I see online, it's really interesting because I know it's not difficult or it's not easy being a mom on social media as an influencer in this day and age. You're trying to show, perfection all the time. You're trying to, and I mean, you don't, obviously, but you're trying to show, you're trying to get the brand deals. You're trying to. So I kept seeing this, really happy-go-lucky family with a fantastic husband who's what an Instagram husband.
It's the best.
He
wrote me a card before I came here.
He did?
He wrote me a card. Yeah.
Oh, because he's a photographer, really so he's
and he's not a trained photographer. He learned with me. We learned together.
But he does,
yeah.
he allows you to be the star of the show. So I know that,
Yeah.
you know, it's an influencer family kind of thing, but it is
Yeah.
you. It's your
Yep,
platform,
but
it's
yep,
Blondie
yep,
Lux, and he
yep.
really allows
Yeah.
that to happen.
Oh yeah, he's
So I see happiness. I see this family that's got it all together. You know, you're fashionable. You're putting the
thank
dresses.
you.
You're spinning around in the dresses. Okay, so how do you
So
see
that
yourself?
so when it's funny because it's like I always just find it so funny because it's the same thing for me when I look at somebody else's Instagram feed and I see that like picture perfect family or vibe, and then I think like, oh my gosh, like my life doesn't look like that. And I've struggled a lot with that, especially the last couple of years, because it was so much easier for me to portray something before I had kids. I could make something look like a different way, and it didn't really matter what was going on in my personal life because I could just kind of really step out of it and just turn on the Blondie Locks easily. And then when I became a mother, my whole perspective changed, for mothers, because I didn't realize how much it actually takes over your whole life. It changes you as physically, mentally, spiritually, like in every way. And I realized that I couldn't just be the Blondie Locks anymore. Like I had to be a mom first. And especially like that first year, kind of with breastfeeding, and I had a colicky baby who didn't stop crying for months. I was like, what am I going to do with my blog? And so that was when I really had to start sharing like my raw, authentic self, because what else am I going to do? Because I don't have the time to go out and shoot these beautiful curated photos and do these photo shoots and do these blog posts and create recipes and create DIYs and like show my house. And like I was doing it 5 days a week before I had kids. Monday to Friday, I would have a blog post up. I would have an Instagram post out. It would all be scheduled. I would have content written like months in advance for like what I wanted to do, content calendars, and I would execute all of that. And I was like, I can definitely keep this going when the baby comes. Like I remember specifically having a conversation with my father-in-law, with my husband, saying like, yeah, it'll be so easy when the baby comes. We're just going to take him everywhere with us. But little did I know I was going to have a colicky baby, and I was going to have postpartum depression, and I was going to go through all of these things. And I had to make a lot of adjustments. And even on top of that, getting into clothes postpartum, I felt so out of my body. Like my breasts were so large and they were leaking everywhere. And I was so soft and squishy. And I didn't recognize myself physically or mentally. And it was a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're trying to you still want to maintain your brand relationships and all that sort of thing. But I mean, I think that we all talk about it, that authenticity is what's most important.
100%.
You know, you got there, once you became a mom, there was no choice but to throw you out, to be authentic.
I had to. And I felt like I always,
weren't
no, I
authentic
was just
before.
going to say that. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like I'd always been authentic in the way, like, especially when Instagram stories came out, I really tried to make a push. Like before that, it was all like so curated. And I remember when Instagram stories came out and I was like, how am I going to do Instagram stories? Because that doesn't look like a magazine. Because my whole thing was I wanted it to just feel like a magazine coming from a person, just like one side, one perspective magazine, basically.
But that's pressure.
For sure. And I guess at the time I probably didn't realize like how much pressure I was putting on myself to make everything look so perfect. And in hindsight, I look at it and I see my boyfriend, my now husband, being like, babe, it doesn't have to always be perfect. It doesn't have to look like this. And I would get so worked up, like, yes, it does. You don't understand.
But I do think that when at the onset of Instagram, it did need to. It
really did.
When you were building then, it's changed a lot since it first came out.
Yeah.
But at first, you really did need to be curated. You did need to have a certain look.
Yep.
And I think it's really interesting, that magazine angle. I like that a lot, actually. It's just kind of a cool way to think about it.
It was the angle that I always took. But then when stories came out, I was like, how the heck am I going to make this look like a magazine? Like, I can't just talk to a camera like my authentic self. Like, people people can't know my actual personality.
and you did.
Yeah.
And when you did.
Yeah. And when I did, yeah.
It was big.
It felt like I made real connections.
You really did.
Yeah.
I think you made a difference. So I remember after the kids were born, you brought up postpartum depression. So let's go there.
Yeah.
Because you went there.
Yeah. So
and you were going through a rough time, and you put it online in stories, and you must have felt the love.
I felt so much love, and I felt like I wasn't expecting so many people to share their stories with me so personally. Like I was able to like give people something that maybe they weren't receiving at home, or support or something, or it just like resonated with people, which felt really good, because that definitely wasn't my intention. I just felt like I had to share it because I'm like just falling off the face of the earth all of a sudden, and like dealing with this mental struggle. And I had postpartum with my first son. I had anxiety and depression throughout my pregnancy with my first son, and then it had postpartum depression, and I got through that. And it was when I was having postpartum depression with my first son, I knew I had postpartum depression because I wasn't really enjoying being a mom, and I wasn't feeling that like connection and that love and that joy that everybody talks about feeling. Yeah. And I would feel like the days were going by forever. Like it felt like just dragging out hours and hours, and I couldn't wait till bedtime. And then I got out of that, and I started really enjoying motherhood around 12 months. And then 14 months hit, and I found out I was pregnant with my second son. And I was like, what is going on? But I found myself actually excited because I realized I can love motherhood. I can do this. And I felt like I was finally starting to come back into myself. But as soon as you start feeling like you're coming back into yourself, you go into pregnancy again. And so then you're going through all those changes again. But this time I found myself actually enjoying pregnancy, aside from the physical pain, because I did not carry easily at all. It was super difficult for me. And then I had Eller, and I didn't have any postpartum. And I had him in December, and it was June, I believe, May or June. And I thought things were going so well. I was like, I'm killing this. I love being a mom of two. I have great mental health. And then I think it was May, and we had another lockdown. And I think the lockdown, coupled with still being postpartum, triggered something inside of me. And one night he basically was not falling asleep, and I couldn't get him. It was all night. He was just like crying, and I was trying to breastfeed him, and he wasn't sleeping. I had a literal mental breakdown. Like I'd never experienced that before. And my husband was sleeping upstairs at the time, so he could get a good night's sleep. And I remember, I think I called him like on his phone, and he just like heard me like muffling, and I couldn't speak. And he just like came down. I had a full mental breakdown. And then the next couple of weeks, what followed were like me feeling like I was wanted to take my life, and just like doctors and getting in to see people, and just a lot of healing that had to happen.
And I love that you talked about it.
Yeah. I don't think I've shared like that much detail before about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
How did it feel sharing it online? Did that make you feel more vulnerable, or was that safe, or was it just you needed to?
I feel like maybe I just needed to like get it out, because now I like thinking about it, I'm like, I was in it when that happened. So like, why did I share that? And maybe it was just like, I felt like maybe somebody else is going through this, so I could share that and maybe connect. Or maybe I wanted to connect with people who were going through it too, because I wanted to know that other people were going through it. Maybe it was a selfish kind of decision. I don't know.
It's a self-care. I mean, anything that's going to make you feel better when you're in a situation of that nature. I think it's, you have to do whatever you can.
Yeah, totally.
I don't agree with when people are like, oh, you're sharing too much. That's too much sharing, because I truly believe that there's somebody that's listening to what you're saying at any given time that's going to resonate with it, and it could help them. And you could be giving them a lifeline that you never
even. I think there were a few women who reached out to me and said like, I've been on the brink. I've been feeling this way. Like, thank you for sharing this, because I feel like I'm not alone now. And hearing that is like, okay, maybe you did help somebody, but like, that's definitely not the intention, but just, it feels good. I guess I don't want to like I don't know. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. And I think connection in social media is beautiful. Like being able to connect with people that you wouldn't have otherwise ever talked to in a million years, like, is special.
Was it difficult holding other people's stories, holding space for other people's stories, because you're already going through your own stuff and then they're kind of piling on. Was that tough?
A lot of the times I didn't respond right away because I was going through it. A lot of times I would just generically respond like, thank you so much for sharing this with me. Like I send you the best, like take care of yourself. It's hard to like come up with like well thought out responses when like you're going through it. But I know that I shared a lot of those responses with my husband, and he's always like, he's my rock. Like anytime somebody shares something with me that I feel like is really heavy, I'll go and share it with him, and like he'll hold the space for me to like be emotional like about that.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
That's nice.
Yeah. Serving up hot brews, refreshing cold drinks, lots of fresh baked goodies, and delicious lunch options. Visit the Mellow Mug in the heart of Larry Utech for dine-in, takeout, or drive-through service. Their spacious cafe offers a casual and inviting vibe that's perfect for everything from enjoying a good book, hanging with friends, or meeting a colleague. The Mellow Mug is your neighborhood spot for great coffee and delicious eats and sweets. The whole blog is about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So through all of that, how did imposter syndrome come into it? Were you feeling like you weren't meeting up to your own expectations? And I don't want to put words in your mouth. Like, I
think I never feel like I'm meeting up to my own expectations.
Yes.
Well,
so
you're in good company.
Yeah. So like even becoming a mother, I was like, who the heck is giving me a baby right now? Like who said that I could do this? Like, you know, and it's still
feel that way.
Right? Like who?
I've got adult kids and I still feel
Yeah,
that way.
like,
Yeah.
Who put you in charge of this
Yeah.
small human who
Yeah.
you have to take care of? So I've definitely always felt like I could do better or should be doing something more, or like set expectations and set the bar really high on myself. And when I couldn't post as frequently as what I had expected myself to be able to having a baby, that was very difficult for me. And I think that was a lot of the part of why I was depressed looking in hindsight, is because I wasn't being able to do the one thing that I felt like I really loved. And it wasn't like, it's your fault, baby.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I loved these little humans, but then at the same time, I felt like I'd lost like such a big part of myself and my creativity, and like just putting what I know is just from my heart, like out into the universe. And I couldn't do that. And so that kind of aided into it a little bit. But one of the things that came out of it was my love for mental health and self health, and like taking care of yourself, and spirituality and yoga and all of these amazing things that if I hadn't have gone through what I went through, I don't know if I would have gone down that path. So
you ended up, did you open a yoga studio?
So we're opening a studio, and I have an amazing partner. Her name's Sarah, and she has helped me so much through my mental health journey. And she has 2 boys as well, and so who are older, and so like she has so much experience in all of this, so she's definitely like an amazing person to talk to, like when I'm going through these things or like dealing with like parental issues of younger children. She's like, I've been there, girl. So that's amazing. But I had a huge bout of imposter syndrome after I started learning about self-awareness and yoga and breath work and all of these things, because I was like, now who the heck am I, this fashion girl who posts outfits on the internet, to be into now like yoga and spirituality? Like that's a weird pivot. And I remember like I took a course, it was last spring, and it was on breath work and meditation. And I remember we were having a conversation, and I brought up to the group, like, I don't feel like I can teach this to people because who the heck am I? And they were like, well, that's your ego coming in. That's like imposter syndrome. And that's just, so every step, it definitely.
What are your tips for pushing through it? I'm sure you can talk a little bit about the yoga stuff, because you've used yoga and
yoga has been a lifesaver for me too, and many times of challenge.
Yeah.
And I still turn to it now when I'm having times when I don't feel like I'm in control of things.
Yep.
And it's not even so much the physical practice, although I love the physical practice
Yeah.
of yoga. It's the consistency that when I do it, my mind is so much clearer.
Just feel calmer. You just feel like that sense of peace, and you feel like you're living in the present moment, which is
Mhm.
all anybody strives for. I think it's so important to bring yourself back to the now. And I think like living life in a present way allows me to enjoy every little moment, and my children especially because like previous to that I would just be like, I can't wait for the day to be over. Like, I can't wait. Bedtime is my favorite time of the day, you know? And it was like, I can't wait to have a glass of wine when the kids go down to bed. And it's like, okay, wait a second. Why am I not enjoying this? And that's when you really have to like start doing the work and looking at yourself, and then digging deep and going through a whole lot of emotional turmoil. But
Yeah, because there's a lot of shame that comes with those feelings too.
Yeah.
Even though they're completely normal and natural, and every single parent has gone through them at some point.
yeah,
But then there's a lot of shame and guilt that comes with feeling that way. So it's sort of a vicious cycle. But
Oh
I
my
love
gosh,
that
so
living in the moment, because when they say that anxiety is focusing on the future and
Yep.
depression is focusing on the past. So if you
Yeah.
can be in that present moment, that's the best place to
it's
be.
the best
but
place to be, but
It's the
then it's like your brain starts
there.
taking over, and then you start
Yeah.
thinking about the past and the future, and all of the time those things come into your life. Like,
Yeah.
those things are going to step into your life, and then it's like realizing like, why are they coming in right now? And like, I don't know, just doing yoga and breathing and meditating on it.
I might have to start yoga.
Yeah.
I remember
I
when,
recommend it to
I should start. When my kids were little, scrapbooking was huge.
Oh yeah.
Huge. And I was scrapbooking all the time. I had a whole craft room set up. My friends would come over, we would all scrapbook together. And I remember this one night I was scrapbooking, and one of my kids was bugging me and was just looking for attention, bugging me. And I remember getting annoyed. And you're like, would you leave me alone? I'm trying to make memories for you.
You're making memories for.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm like freaking out at my child because I'm trying to make a pretty memory for like.
Yep. That's
It
such
really
a
made
good,
me think.
it's that's like a really good lesson though, right there in that moment. I feel like that's such a huge, it's kind of beautiful, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember stepping back and thinking, oh, okay. Different times you realize you have to be present. I remember again, my son playing hockey, and when Instagram first, so my son's out playing hockey. Well, he's carrying a stick and wearing a pair of skates from a brand.
Yep.
So I'm there on my phone trying to get the picture, trying to get the moment done.
Yeah.
And my son finally said to me driving home one day, "Mommy, don't watch my game. Every time I look up, you're like this."
Yeah. And honestly, I'm bad for that too.
It does.
It's hard.
And we all
We all
work in
yep.
social
Well,
media.
I think if you work in it, it's a little bit different, because my son is the same, even though he is really interested. He's 11, so he's interested in making videos and in social media to a certain extent. He doesn't have his own account, but he's still like, too, you're on your phone a lot, and I have to be like the same, dude. Like, this is what I do for work.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for fun. I do not want to spend this much time on Instagram. Let me tell you, I do not.
Yeah.
I do find though, even though I do it for work, I can get down rabbit holes.
Oh,
pretty
me
quickly,
too.
Especially TikTok.
That's
I mean, they're like just
the TikTok rabbit hole.
right. And I refuse. I will not look at TikTok till the end of the night. I get in bed, I turn on, and then
I find that has been kind of my kryptonite. I will go like 2 weeks without going on TikTok because I'm like, I know when I go on. I do. But then as soon as I open that app, 3 hours will have passed, and I'm like zombied out, and I'm like, okay, what am I trying to like cover up here? Like, am I just like trying to like,
I think it's just escape the way TV
escape is. Oh, it's escapism, 100%.
My husband just constantly sending me dog.
Oh yeah, we
It's
said
like,
just TikTok.
just
That's like our
dog
love
stuff
language now, is
constantly.
like sending
I think
TikToks
it's
to each other.
everybody's
I think so
language,
too.
right?
Yeah.
I think it is. We're
Yep.
just sending back, instead of having conversations, we're sending funny
TikToks,
videos to one another.
I think that should be added to the love language book, sending social media memes and TikToks. Yeah.
One of the ways to combat imposter syndrome is to actually listen to how awesome the people in your life think you are. If you're looking for the perfect gift for a loved one, where you can tell them all of the things that make them special, visit my Drawbridge Creative Etsy shop and purchase a Things We Love About You custom poster. With several styles to choose from, it's a fabulous gift for any milestone birthday, anniversary, retirement, or just because. Kaylee, you looked at all of our list of imposter syndrome types, categories, and you categorize yourself as the perfectionist. Our first perfectionist. Wow. So the perfectionist's primary focus is on how something is done. This includes how the work is conducted and how it turns out. One minor flaw in an otherwise stellar performance, or 99 out of 100 equals failure and therefore shame.
Oh, 100%. Like and mostly for me, not for other people though. Give so much grace to other people, and I would never think like if you did this way or made a mistake that like you're a failure,
because you don't seem like you're not a judgmental person.
Not at all.
Judgy,
but myself, oh my gosh, like I will spend hours on like trying to like come up with like the perfect like paint colors for our studio, or like making these crazy like Canva boards where it's like has to be, I really get into my head about it. And then I do take the step back and think, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm really working through it. It's definitely like part of my daily practice to work through that. But it's something I've struggled with and dealt with. And like even previous when I did more like outfit shoots and stuff, and I would go back and look at the photos, and I mean, we'd take like 300 photos to get like 7 photos. And I always only ended up with like 7 to 10 photos, because I'm like, all the other ones, they're not good enough. Like, but I also don't mind picking fun of myself, because I could see a photo of myself where I'm like, the wind's taking me and my face is like, like all funny, and I'll like share that and be like, there's the photo, so, but when it comes to like hitting publish,
but it probably also has to be the perfect bad.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it can't be too bad.
It can't be too bad.
No. That can't be, no. So yeah, but like when I hit publish, I want it to be perfect. And like a lot of times will make like spelling errors on things, and I like know it's coming. I know I'm gonna make some kind of a grammatical error or spelling mistake, and then I'm just like, why didn't you? I swore.
That's okay.
Why didn't you?
It's allowed.
Yeah. Why didn't you like check that over or get somebody else to check it first? Or so I do.
I mean, it makes the magazine thing make much more sense.
Yeah.
But I think now too, there's so much more room for error in social media than there ever was before, like grammar and spelling and even, cussing.
Yeah.
I think that there's a little bit more freedom in it, but I definitely get that perfectionism and wanting everything to look a certain way and to present a certain way.
Yeah. And I wonder where that stems. I think it stems from just like a lifelong feeling like maybe I'm not good enough. And so then I put a lot of effort into like my wardrobe and like my hair and my makeup and like things like that, where like I don't feel like I have to leave the house looking a certain way to like be perceived a certain way any longer.
I mean, in many ways, you've formed your life around social media, but also social media has been hard on you. Where do you fall in? Is social media a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
Well, I was just gonna to add to that, even when TikTok kind of came out, I was still postpartum with my second, and TikTok was happening and really coming up, and my management company was all like, you guys need to get on TikTok, you really need to push that. And I'm like looking through TikTok, I'm like, I cannot learn this right now. And then Reels kind of came out, and I was like, well, shit, now I really have to learn this. And I wanted it to look a certain way, because I remember looking at, there's like a couple of bloggers who are like elite bloggers, like from like the States, right? And I would look at their video content like before Reels and TikTok were even a thing. And I was like, I really want to do YouTube and video content, but if I'm going to do it, I need it has to look like a production company has like done this. And I don't have the resources to be able to do that. So I just didn't do it, and I wouldn't do it. And the same with TikTok. It's like, it needs to look this way. So sometimes I don't do it. And yeah, to answer your question, I think social media can be a really good thing, but then it can also be a really negative thing, because you can beat yourself up a lot about it, like thinking like I'm not good enough. And then you start comparing yourself, and then
The comparison
Yeah.
paralysis is
Yeah.
the worst.
Comparison.
But you know what's
like,
really interesting is that I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing something, I want it to look a certain way, or
Yeah.
I want it to at least look
Yeah.
comparable
Yeah.
to who I think is doing
Yeah.
it well.
mhm.
But then I see people who have got the shittiest lighting, the shittiest like little corner of their house filming something, and
Yeah.
it's got like fucking 2
Yeah.
million views.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell?
I
Why am I
know.
working my ass
Why?
off when
Yeah,
they get
it's
2 million
so
views
true.
on it?
And then I
Yeah.
struggle with that because I'm like, that doesn't feel authentic to me
Yeah.
either.
I know.
So I'm like, where do I draw the line? Am I just doing TikTok because I have to do it, or am I doing it because I genuinely have something to add of value? And it's like I always want to add something of value.
It's educate, inspire, and
Entertainment.
entertain.
Yeah.
And if we're not doing one of them, we feel, well, what's
Yeah.
the point? I did that a couple of weeks ago. I'm telling a story, and then finally I'm like, why did I just tell this story? I didn't entertain you. I didn't educate you. I didn't inspire. I just told you something stupid because I needed to tell somebody. So I went on stories. There was nobody else
Yep.
around. So I
And
told
tell- yeah,
stories.
yeah.
But
But I think that's fun too, because then it's like people love hearing random stories.
Hey,
like
that is
it's
entertaining.
and it is entertaining. Yeah, it's
Is it
entertaining. It is.
entertaining?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's entertaining for
I
sure.
don't know. I mean, I like the fact that there's all levels of the spectrum can get success on
Absolutely.
social media, and that's what encourages me about those
Yep.
like back corner
Yep.
videos that are flying off the shelves. At least there's somewhere in there where I know I can fit.
I think there's the place for everybody at the table, as long as I think you're doing,
Exactly.
yeah.
There is.
I think if you're doing
Yeah.
something with your heart and it's something that you feel very passionate about, I think then you should put it out there. If you're doing something because you feel like you have to do it, then you should probably ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself the why. Like, what is my why? I think that's really important.
Because that always comes through.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
You can always see
You
if
can tell.
people are being disingenuous or performative.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, for years I was the mom blogger getting all the mom blog contracts around here. And
Yeah.
now it's like, what contracts am I supposed
Like,
to be
where do
going
I
after?
fit?
Like for
Yeah.
gray
Yeah.
hair dye and
Yeah.
like and
What
and,
do-
and stuff for acid reflux and joint pain. Like
there's a
what-
market for that.
I know there's a market for it. But I
Yeah.
haven't pitched
No,
that
it's true,
market
but, like,
yet.
even
I'm still
it's-
thinking I'm the mom blogger.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And
You
I
know?
don't even, I honestly, like, I did some mom campaigns, and it's great to be able to support yourself, but it wasn't resonating with me. And so then I'm feeling like, okay, I really am an imposter because this is just not who I am. And that's why, like, I felt like so strongly when I pivoted recently into more like, well, it's bricks and mortar, I guess, because we're opening a studio. I social media is just like, it's not resonating with me as much anymore, and I'm so grateful for what it has offered me, but I feel like I'm going down like a bit of a different path, and I'm not like trying to get like these sponsored posts that I'm not really aligning with anymore. So
Yeah.
Well, I think that makes perfect sense though, because the deeper you get into wellness practices,
Yeah.
that theory of disattachment and
Yep.
losing the ego,
Yep.
it's very hard to marry those two together
so hard.
and be authentic about it. So I think
is
it makes a lot
so
of
hard. I
sense.
really appreciate you saying that, because it's hard to also like explain that to people who don't get it either. And it's like I physically feel like I can't put something out there that I am just not aligning with now, because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not being myself. And and detaching is very important, because then disappointment isn't as great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How long do you think you've had imposter syndrome?
My entire life.
Yeah.
My entire life.
Everybody says
A lot of people, everybody says that.
So do you feel like
I-
the perfectionism comes into parenting too?
No.
No, that's so
Oh,
interesting.
no.
No, because it could have, but I have done so much work on that side of my life, because I just know how I want my kids to feel when they're older.
Mm.
And I just don't put expectations around parenting. And I really go with the flow when it comes to parenting.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
It is smart.
Really try not to push like my things onto them. And I try to be very like self-aware enough to know that like, this is a me thing, not a you thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
Yep.
so hard.
It's so hard. Like from what I read on social media about parenting, it's all about repair. Like it's okay to make mistakes, but I think as long as like you're repairing those mistakes with them, they they feel safer with you. And
Yes.
that's all I really want, are my kids to feel safe enough when they're older to be able to come to me with problems, so that they're not hiding it from me and in fear of like, what's mom gonna do?
It's so true.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm headed into right now.
Oh, yep, you're
is
going
those,
into that.
those
Those
troubled
years.
waters.
Yep.
And it is true, being able to have those conversations and have an open door is super important.
Yeah.
Open door policy. Yep.
Yeah, it is important. What are your best tips for pushing through imposter syndrome?
Just doing it. Just keep pushing yourself, and eventually it won't feel like you're an imposter. I think like one thing that I always go back to when I think of it, having imposter syndrome like very badly, was when I lived in Toronto and I would get invited to like these events, and I would have these like panic attacks before going to the event and being like, I can't go. Why have I been invited? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And literally be like, oh, dressed, ready, I'm not going. And then thankfully my husband would be like, you're going. He like pushed me out of the door, and I would get there and I'd have the heart palpitations. But the more that I did it, the better I felt. It's just, you got to keep pushing yourself, and eventually those hard things won't feel so hard. So I think just, yeah, that's my number one piece of advice. Just
I
keep
love that.
I do
pushing.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have been a pleasure.
Yeah,
This
we
is so
have to-
fun.
What we have to do speed
We're
round,
going
to
speed
but yeah,
round.
I could talk to you all night. We pick out 5
I love it.
questions and you just answer them as quick as you can.
You didn't sing though tonight.
We're not there
I
yet.
didn't- Oh, okay. Alix likes to sing as she goes to do this.
Well, I don't like to. It just happens.
I love singing.
All right, speed round.
Speed round.
Didn't say I was good at singing.
She doesn't.
I'm not good at singing either.
Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
Yes.
What is your favorite type of music?
Like the Eagles, like soft rock.
Describe your style in one word. That's a good one for you.
Lately, comfy, like a onesie, like a yoga onesie with like
Oh,
a
yeah.
like a blazer over it and sneakers. 'Cause it
too.
looks-
That is your
that is
style.
my
Yeah.
style. Yeah, I love it.
What time do you go to bed?
Try for 10.
Do you own your own Netflix account?
My husband's, but yeah. But everybody else
counts,
has
yes.
theirs. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you looking to up your social media game? Social media can be intimidating and overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. At Everyday on Branding, we truly believe that every day is an opportunity to showcase your brand through authentic and aligned social media strategy and content. Whether you're looking for done-for-you social management or monthly strategy sessions, the team at Everyday on Branding can help you reach your ideal audience in a way that feels aligned and drives conversion. If you'd like to have the Imposter Sisters come into your business and help you and your team get comfortable creating social media content, ask us about our new Keen to Screen program, a value-packed social media training for anyone that is looking to up their social media presence either as a solopreneur or to empower their team to be impactful brand ambassadors.
You were joyful, you were genuine, you were authentic, you were real. It's lovely to spend some time
Thank
with
you.
you.
I completely agree with everything
you.
she said. It was amazing speaking with you, and I just want to give you a second to plug your studio. When is it open?
Yes. We are hoping for end of May, June, and it is Studio 22 Windsor on Instagram. And we have an Instagram account, and our website will be up soon. But please follow us on Instagram.
We'll add
because
that
we
to the show
Yeah,
notes as
that
well.
would be so awesome.
Can't wait.
We're
to
very
see
excited.
more. And
It's
maybe
been-
I'll drive down.
Yes, please. You can come see the studio progress, so you
Oh,
can
yeah,
see
that'd
like
be
the
fun.
construction that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Would love that.
I'd love to come down for
Yeah.
a class once you're up. and
Come for
running.
a class. Yep.
Thank you for coming.
I'm not a
Yes.
teacher. Sarah is an amazing teacher though, so
That's
you
awesome.
would love a class with her.
I would.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
So
Thank you.
awesome. So
Thank you,
nice to
thank
meet
you.
you.
Thank you. Could Kaylee have
Oh.
a sweeter smile?
She is such a delight.
Yeah, I really, I have met her in the past, but this was the first time that I really got to get some of the insight into Kaylee a little bit.
I had never met her and she was just lovely. I really enjoyed speaking with her. I enjoyed everything she had to say. I loved how vulnerable and raw she was and is. I love that she pivoted into this wellness field and is doing things that make her feel good. And I think it's all great.
Yeah, I think so too. Are we going to go out to the yoga studio?
100%. I love yoga.
I've never done yoga.
What? You are missing out.
Okay, here's one of the reasons I don't want to go to yoga. The farts.
That barely happens.
I've heard people fart, and
Oh
I
my
think
goodness.
if anyone's gonna fart, it's gonna be me.
I mean, I have been in yoga rooms where it has happened, but nobody acknowledges it. Everybody just goes on doing what they're doing because it happens, but not very often. Like very, very seldom does that ever happen.
Oh, I'll trust you.
And a lot of yoga classes now have music, so
Oh,
it's less of a concern.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Imposter Sisters. Please remember, we're not doctors or mental health experts. If you're looking for mental health guidance, please see our show notes for local resources. We'd like to thank our location sponsor, the Mellow Mug, located at 64 Delridge Lane, for donating this amazing space for us to have these important chats and for supplying us with drinks and goodies. Please give them a follow and make sure to stop in to see this beautiful spot for yourself. Until next time, keep your head high and we will see you next Tuesday.